Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial. Today I will go over a few basic commands which you will need in order to follow this course through. Now these basic commands they're used in order to navigate within the terminal or through the file system to figure out where you are at the moment, to copy things, move things, get listings of files, folders, see the contents, remove them, change the ownership of files or change the modes of files. You will see shortly what I mean. So first off, we have cd, which is change directory. So if I just type in cd / home, I am going to navigate over to my home directory. CD stands for change directory. As I said before, you are literally changing your working directory. If you type in cd /, you will always go one step back. So / is always the previous folder. Bit of a shortcut there. You will use it fairly often. Next up, we have ls. ls shows you the listing of the current folder contents, but you can also use ls / for example home, and you get the listing of a specified folder as well. Typing ls in and of its own will give you the listing of the current folder, as opposed to typing ls and then a path to a folder which will give you a listing of a specified folder. In addition to that, you also have ls-l, which will give you a long listing. So it will tell you who the owners are, the size, the date, the type, the permissions, and so on and so forth. However, one of the more common usages of ls is -la to show the hidden files as well. You might notice that I am not using ll like I generally use in Fedora, because /ll command not found. I guess I could install it here as well, but it doesn't really matter. It performs fairly similar function as ls does, but it's a bit faster to type in. So I'm just going to go ahead and clear this. Next up is pwd, which prints working directory, and you might find this a bit confusing, but / in all Linux Unix-like systems, it simply refers to the root directory, to the beginning, to the root directory. So your from where all the files are located and from where everything begins, so to say. But let me just make it a bit clearer. I'm going to navigate over to home and then do pwd. You can see that I am in home at the moment. So print working directory does exactly what the name itself says. It prints your current working directory. Next up, we have our cp command, which we already have used in order to copy VirtualBox guest editions from one place to another. Fairly simple. You type in cp path up. Let's not do it like that. Let's do a real example. So if I, for example, go ahead and type in cp vbox guest editions, Linux edition, sorry, .run, and if I, let's say, want to copy it to somewhere, let's say that I wish to copy it to var, I will delete it, of course, and I'll show you how to do that as well, but it's fairly simple. And if I want, I don't want recursion, I just want a verbosity. There you go. So cp vbox, you specify what you want to copy and where you want to copy it to. Keep in mind that you could have actually typed in here a folder, a full path to this VirtualBox guest editions.run. You didn't actually need to be in the home directory. And this -v option gives us this. So it tells us what was copied where. Very useful option. Let me just show you what would happen if I didn't have that. Oops, just like this. Nothing. There's no output or anything of a kind. Now this is fairly simple when you have one very small file and you don't really care, but when you have a large file, let's say 20 gigabytes or so, and you are copying it, you're just going to have a blank screen below. Nothing will be happening. You will not be able to figure out that whether the copying process is going on or whether it has actually crashed, bugged, or something of a kind. So just pass a -v option, which is always useful to have, simply because the machine actually tells you what it is doing. Now, you might have noticed that all of these commands, more or less, they have their own arguments which can be passed to them in order to modify what the command does. You can view a listing of these arguments. You do not need to memorize them all. So just let's take an example of CP. I'm going to help. So this is a universal way of getting help on a particular subject within the terminal. You type in the command space --help. Press enter, and you get a listing of possibilities. So I know it looks a bit messy and a bit difficult to see, but you don't actually need to look at all of these things here. You just scroll upwards, and there you go. You can see all the arguments. They are listed clearly here. You have the argument here, and then you have an explanation of what that argument does. For the time being, you're not going to be able to memorize all of these, but over the time, as you practice more and more, and as you start doing, and as you start actually using these commands, you will be remembering more and more and more and more without actually wishing it. Basically, you'll be caching the information, so to say. Anyway, over here in the upper part of this help menu, you get usage. So in usage, you get the format or the syntax of the command. So basically, CP, you pass an option, and then you specify your source and destination. Very simple, no problems there. This is universal for all of the commands. You can always use the help menu. However, in addition to the help menu, you also have man pages. So if I type in man, and I'm gonna use a command pwd, man pages on pwd basically give me a download of information. And you can see, okay, obviously it gives you the name, it's called synopsis here, but basically the syntax of the command. You get a full description of what the command does, full description of the arguments. You even get the author who actually wrote it, some notes, copyright, and some references to something else as well. This is a very short man page because pwd is a very short command and a very basic command. But for example, if I was to type in grep, you can see that the man page is a lot bigger as I'm just scrolling down, and it seems to be on end. Grep is a multi-purpose command, which I will show to you in a moment, but I just wanted to show the difference between a basic and a more complex command. Let me just go ahead and clear the screen. Next up, we have move. So MV, that will cause a folder to move. This is how you rename folders too, or files. So let's just go ahead and navigate over to var, where I have actually copied this file. ls, excellent. So if I say move vbox guest edition, Linux editions, I can move it either to some different folder under some different name, or I can just rename it within my current folder. So if I just type it in, I don't know, let's go random is not so random. I'm just gonna rename it to that and say .run. You can put whatever extension you want. Of course, it won't function the same, but I am just showing you the way of renaming a file. And if I do ls again, you see that that vbox Linux editions.run has been successfully renamed to random is not so random.run. I can also do this. I can, for example, move random is not so random to my home directory, and if I do ls and then specify a path to my home directory and press enter, you can see that I have actually moved it here. But unlike the copy command, it doesn't retain the original within wherever the source might have been. So once you move it, it's gone from the source folder. However, it's going to appear in the destination one. Also, a tricky way when you delete something with move, when you move something over something else, It's so difficult to recover, if not impossible. Also, be very careful with deleting files in Linux, because once you delete them from the terminal, it's next. I mean, you will not be able to recover them, basically. There are some complex procedures that might give you the fraction of what you wanted to recover, but if you remove it from the terminal, it's very, very, very difficult. It's not like Windows or something of a kind. When you delete something in Windows, you can always recover it. Basically, you didn't even delete it, nonetheless, something else. You just don't see it. But here, when you delete something, it's gone permanently. So take great caution, take great care, but don't be afraid. I mean, over a certain period of time, these things become second nature to you, and you will take it into consideration without even thinking about it. So let's just go ahead and clear the screen. Next up, we have cat. Now, cat gives us, well, let me show you what cat does. So, I cannot cat the random. Because it's not there, of course. So let's just navigate over to home, and let's cat. Random is not so random. You see what it does. It actually shows you the listing of, this is a bit of a longer file. So it shows you all the entire contents of that file, whatever that might be. Not for this content is not pretty at all. You can't basically read it like this, but it doesn't matter. Let's just create another file, and I'm just gonna cat it. So Nano is my favorite text editor from the terminal. You will need to learn how to use terminal text editors, because primarily you don't want to be switching back and forth between GUI text editors and working on something in the terminal. It's extremely time consuming. And plus, here on Kali Linux, you can actually edit things with root. However, if you are, for example, using some other distribution or something of that kind, most of the GUI text editors you will not be able to run them as root. You will get an error message. So that can be a bit problematic. That's why you should always learn how to use text editors that are terminal text editors. So just type in Nano and type in the name of the file that you wish to create. So for example, I'm just going to go ahead and type in test. This is going to be a test file. No need to give it any extensions or anything of a kind. And there you go. Now we are in the Nano text editor. So here I can, for example, write some text. Some random text goes here. Let's just do that. Okay, so you have a wide variety of options down here. Well, maybe not a wide variety, but certainly a good amount. So this is this caret sign X. It simply means Control X. So if you press Control X, you're gonna exit. Control O, write out. That's basically save. You don't need this. Where is basically the way to search things. So Control V, search, and no, let's say random. Press enter, and there you go. It's gonna point to random. It's going to find it, no problems. Previous page, don't need that. Next page, you're not gonna be that engaged with it. So cut text is also very nice, because it allows you to actually remove large portions of text at a relatively fast rate. So if I just say Control K, it's going to remove the current line where the cursor is, not what you have selected with your mouse, just so you know. Let me just bring that back. And I'm just going to go ahead and continue talking about this in part 2 in the follow-up tutorial. Until then, I bid you farewell.